Good evening and welcome to the news at 8, brought to you by Eswatini TV with myself, Sondom Langeni. First, your headlines. The Prime Minister has pledged government support to business Eswatini's Vugani Bomage project. The Minister for Foreign Affairs says more Emaswati to be repatriated home before the end of the month. The Minister of Agriculture calls for farmers to prepare for the ploughing season. And now the news in detail. The Prime Minister, Ambrose Dlamini, says the Vugani Bomage project, driven by business women Eswatini, which seeks to devolve the economy to Tingundla centers where cottage industries in every community in the country can thrive, is in line with government's development agenda. While the Prime Minister was speaking during a partnership recognition ceremony held at Business Eswatini offices at Emafini.
Not so long ago, businesswomen Eswatini launched the Vugani Bomage project, which seeks to empower women throughout the country. The organization has presented mobile warehouses that will be used by the women in the Tinkhundla centers. Speaking during the presentation of the warehouses and partnership recognition ceremony, Prime Minister Ambrose Dlamini said the Vugani Bomage project is in line with Vision 2022 and government decentralization policy. The Prime Minister says careful balancing between the pressing need to save lives and protecting the economy remains a priority for government.
It is with this in mind that today's event by business women Eswatini gives me hope. Hope in the knowledge that government has partners out there who are tirelessly working hard to protect our economy and improve lives. My hope is strengthened by the knowledge that women are relentlessly and uncompromisingly, when focusing on a goal, leaving nothing to chance until the job is done. Their fortitude is the sort of inspirational trait we need in challenging times such as this. The Vugani Bomage project, which seeks to devolve the economy to Tinkhundla centers, where cottage industries in every community in the country can thrive, is in line with government's development agenda. It has always been the objective of government to create employment opportunities to generate wealth in communities where a majority of Emaswati are located.
The Minister of Commerce, Industry and Trade, Mangoba Khumalo, says the Vugani Bomage project is very close to his heart.
This is not only because it empowers women to be the best that they can be, but it also comes at a time when the world is working tirelessly to ward off the effects of COVID-19 to our economy.
Businesswomen Eswatini chairperson Toki Hau encouraged everyone to support locally produced products to revive the country's economy. Business Eswatini President Andrew Leroux says the organization is working towards empowering small and medium enterprises, women, and developing the country's Tinkhundla centers. Businesswomen Eswatini recognized her partners in the project, who include Inkosigati Magela Motsa and other organizations. The women who are part of the project have started enjoying benefits as they have received their first payment. For Eswatini TV News, I'm Subsidy with Mbongwa Dube, Mafini.
The Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Thuli Dladla, says government's exercise of repatriating Emaswati in other countries who want to come back home in this period of the outbreak of the coronavirus is well on track, since before the end of September, another group of Emaswati will be jetting into the country through close working relations the country has with airlines like Kenya and Qatar Airways.
Since the outbreak of coronavirus, many people from Eswatini living in other countries, including students and expatriates, have relentlessly expressed desire to come back home. However, the big problem with repatriation has been that most commercial flights are non-operational due to lockdowns and other travel restrictions imposed to contain the spread of this disease. Yet, despite the existing restrictions on travel, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation has managed to bring back hundreds of Emaswati who were stranded in other countries, with the first group having jetted into the kingdom in April with Siyingcaba aircraft. The Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Tuli Dladla, says the kingdom has managed to successfully repatriate Emaswati living abroad through strong working relations established by the ministry with airlines such as Kenya and Qatar Airways.
iKenya yathi livela kangwana asinankinga thina uma senda repatriation sitawathatha eMaswati la akafikele eNairobi sase sawathatha thina siwamikise eSwatini sesijika nalamanye.
The minister says Eswatini's relations with Kenya Airways especially blossomed during the period of the outbreak of COVID-19 as the East African airliner opened its arms to help fly back the people of Eswatini back home. She says Kenya Airways has made an undertaking to bring flights into the country provided there are 20 or more Eswatini-bound passengers as well as 20 or more outbound passengers. She says there is a group of Emaswati currently stranded in India who want to come back home, and an arrangement is being made with both Kenya and Qatar Airways to bring them back home. The minister encourages people who want to come back home and those who want to be repatriated to their countries to buy their tickets from the Royal Eswatini National Airways Corporation and to further make travel arrangements with RENAC. For Eswatini TV News, Hlengwendlo with Muslim Konda in Babane.
The National Maize Corporation has opened payment for the input subsidy program under the Ministry of Agriculture, and therefore it urges farmers to register. The Minister of Agriculture, Jabulani Mabuza, has urged Emaswati to start preparing for this season, as agriculture is a key growth sector which will ensure food security in the country.
The National Maize Corporation has announced the commencement of the input subsidy program under the Ministry of Agriculture. The payment for input subsidy and tractor hire services is open to every Liswati and every farmer until the 31st of October. The Minister of Agriculture, Jabulani Mabuza, says input government provides are maize, beans and sorghum.
Farmers are requested to pay 3,000 emalangeni for maize, and government will then pay the other 3,000. And there is beans also, where all farmers are requested to pay 4,000 emalangeni, and government assist again and pay them the other 4,000 emalangeni. And there is what we call sorghum as well, where all farmers are requested to pay 2,050 emalangeni as a contribution towards the subsidy. And then governments pay 2,050 emalangeni also. And then for the tractor hire, they are requested to pay 250 emalangeni, and government will also pay the other 250 emalangeni. This is to try and assist farmers to make sure that each and every Liswati goes out and make sure that there is food in the home state.
The strategic roadmap states that agriculture is one of the 5 key sectors to help resuscitate the economy. Therefore, it is crucial that more Emaswati venture into farming to ensure food security. Reporting, I'm Lungelile Makakula with Mbongwatube in Babane.
Civil servants working at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, who were led by Minister Tuli Dladla, have come out in their numbers to clean around the ministry's building and its surroundings. Well, the minister says the cleanup exercise is of significance because the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is usually the first stop for the country's foreign visitors who have the first encounter of the kingdom's hygiene standards in this ministry.
With the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation being a first stop for envoys, diplomats, and other high-level individuals who come into the country, the ministry becomes a mirror that reflects many things about the people of Eswatini, such as how well Emaswati people uphold hygienic practice and standard. It is against this backdrop that the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Thuli Dladla, led an exercise to remove litter, overgrown vegetation, and other undesirable elements within the ministry's precinct and inside the building. The minister says cleanliness and good hygiene practice have become her portfolio's priorities, especially since the outbreak of COVID-19 dictates adherence to strict hygiene practice to minimize the risk of getting infected due to poor hygiene.
Siyathi ke thina baphathi emakhosi ethu ngendlela thithanza ngayo. Sebafika lapha bakhanza kungcolile, bafike phale sibakhanza indzawo ihlobile.
She says it is a well-known fact that their majesties are quite particular about good hygiene practice and cleanliness, which is why it would be very unfortunate to have palaces clean and government offices dirty. After the clean-up exercise, the ministry's workers were expected to participate in a wellness exercise facilitated by the Public Sector Coordinating Committee on HIV and AIDS, PSHAC.
Besonke silala ndzawonye ngabe vele siyavuka ekseni sishukume sonke sitela emsebentini sesivulekile ngoba.
She says physical and mental wellness are quite key for the ministry's workers, especially since fitness also promotes productivity amongst employees. The minister promises that clean-up campaigns of this nature will not be a once-off event, but that the ministry will ensure that these are done every now and then. For Eswatini TV News, Hlengwen Love with Muslim Konda in Babane.
Well, let's look at the Ministry of Health COVID-19 update. The Ministry of Health reported 32 new confirmed cases of COVID-19 in the past 24 hours. In a statement issued by the Minister for Health, Lizinkosi, a total of 208 results were received today, out of which 32 tested positive for coronavirus, bringing the total number of confirmed COVID-19 cases to 4,936. The ministry also reports one new death, which brings total number of COVID-19 related deaths to 97. The statement shows that there are 730 active cases, 4,077 have recovered, 97 have died, and 32 have been registered for care. Looking at the cumulative confirmed COVID-19 cases by region, Manzini has 2,256 cases, Oho has 1,907 cases, Shiselweni has 411, and the Lubombo region has 362 confirmed cases of COVID-19. Well, the exercise to review the national population policy has kick-started. According to the Minister of Economic Planning and Development, Dr. Tambo Gina, every Liswati is expected to make an input in the policy as all the 4 regions of the country will be visited. Well, the exercise started in Manzini region, where the minister was represented by the Principal Secretary in the ministry, Peggy Bembe.
The Minister of Economic Planning and Development, Dr. Tambo Gina, on Wednesday kickstarted the exercise to review the national population policy. Dr. Gina says one of the reasons that necessitated the policy review is that government wants to ascertain progress and challenges encountered during the almost 2 decades as means to identify gaps in order to improve effectiveness and impact of the policy. The minister was represented by the ministry's principal secretary, Peggy Bembe, at the George Hotel, where the ministry was meeting chiefs under the Manzini region.
This is our first meeting with chiefs, so we shall be going to the 3 other remaining regions. After we've consulted chiefs, we'll then make an attempt to reach out to individual Swazis in their different groupings. That is the youth, women, people living with disability, so that we get their input as much as possible and improve on the new population policy.
United Nations Population Fund was represented by Dr. Bongani Dlamini. Dr. Dlamini says the National Population Policy was last reviewed in 2003.
There are a number of issues that have come up. Recently, we can quote COVID, which is a recent global pandemic, but we also have a number of other national developmental issues that have taken place following its first development in 2003. One is the National Development Strategy, which has been developed post its initial policy development in 2003. So this time around, we want to incorporate the new evidence that is coming.
One of the reasons that resulted in the National Population Policy Review is that the country has had two national censuses, one in 2017 and the other one in 2007. The national census indicated that the country's life expectancy has increased from 43 years to 60. For Eswatini TV News, Fortune Langamandla Manzini.
Former Minister of Public Works and Transport Ntuthuko Dlamini has been officially charged for the murder of two men and attempted murder. Dlamini made his first court appearance at the Manzini Magistrate Court.
Former Minister of Transport and Public Works, Ntuthuko Dlamini, who stands accused of the murder of two men and attempted murder, appeared before the Manzini Magistrate Court, and he was represented by his lawyer, Noncedo Dlangamandla. The charge sheet says Dlamini committed the crimes at Mhlabubovu area on September 7. He appeared before acting magistrate Thamsanqa Ndlovu. Dlamini was officially charged for the crimes. In the first count of murder, Dlamini is accused of shooting once Andreas Tabete in the chest with the intention to kill him. On the second count, Dlamini is accused of murdering Sikhulu Dlamini by shooting him 4 times in the chest with an intention to kill him. These two were confirmed dead upon reaching RFM Hospital. The third count is attempted murder that Dlamini shot Simon Dlamini 3 times, twice in the stomach, while once on the arm. The court remanded Dlamini back to custody, pending committal to the High Court on September 16. The allegations, to the extent that Dlamini committed the crimes, were 2 inner council, one from Luyengweni and the other one from Lamkapi, clashed over land dispute. What was also noted during Dlamini's court appearance was that there were many Maswati who were seen within the vicinity of the court. Police also came out in numbers to maintain order. Most of the people were not allowed to enter the courtroom. For Eswatini TV News, Fortune Langamandla Manzini.
The Ministry of Home Affairs has shut down 5 places of worship for failure to comply with the COVID-19 regulations. Well, this is contained in a press statement which was issued by the Ministry of Home Affairs Communications Officer Mlandvo Dlamini.
The Ministry of Home Affairs over the past weekend shut down 5 places of worship in the Southern Hoho region for failure to comply with COVID-19 regulations. According to a press statement by the Ministry of Home Affairs Communications Officer Mlandvo Dlamini, the ministry, in collaboration with the Royal Eswatini Police Service, conducted a random inspection wherein 5 places of worship between Ezulwini and Mahlanya corridor were visited and immediately shut down for flouting the COVID-19 regulations 2020. Dlamini says the affected places of worship either were without permit to increase gatherings or were without hand sanitizers or running water for washing hands, did not observe 2-meter social distancing, held children below the age of 10 years in attendance, and some congregants were spotted without face masking. Dlamini says such a conduct is totally unacceptable and is strongly discouraged. In spite of this unfortunate conduct, which led to the closure of the 5, Dlamini says the ministry acknowledged that the sizable number of places of worship observe COVID-19 regulations aimed at preventing the spread of the virus. Dlamini says places of worship are encouraged to strictly adhere to the stipulated guidelines aimed at reducing the spread of the virus in gatherings. He says these guidelines include that a person, when entering a place of worship, must be screened or trained personally and their hands sanitized. Dlamini says the ministry wishes to caution some places of worship that continue to hold night services that such act is in contradiction with the regulations, and citizens are urged to report this malpractice to their nearest police station. Dlamini says the ministry shall continue with random inspections countrywide, and defaulters will be charged in accordance with the provisions of the COVID-19 regulations and have their places of worship shut down. For Eswatini TV News, Fortune Dlangamandla, Mbabane.
Stalisa Foundation, whose patron is Senator Tony Sibanze, has visited the Matanjeni constituency, where it donated food parcels and blankets to 28 elderly people. Well, the foundation is also building 2 of the elderly people whose situation is bad a house each. This was highlighted by the foundation's coordinator, Nhlanhla Dlamini. Continue with the news. The Sikhumbuzo Foundation has donated toiletries comprising of 1,000 bath soap and 1,000 toothbrushes, as well as 1,000 boxes of toothpaste to His Majesty's Correctional Service. President of the foundation, Pastor Sikhumbuzo Shongwe, says the Lord loves and forgives sinners, but what He despises is sin. Therefore, it is for that reason that the foundation saw it fit to make this donation.
The items donated by the Sikhumbuzo Foundation will be given to inmates from one of the correctional facilities. The foundation has made many donations to organizations and individuals in dire need of assistance, be it financially or otherwise. The president of the foundation, Pastor Sikhumbuzo Shongwe, says this gesture is a sign of kindness, which is something that does not demand hard work. He says the Lord blesses people who extend a helping hand to the vulnerable.
The Lord forgives and blesses sinners, but what He despises most is sin. We are here because we know that God has forgiven the inmates for the crimes they have committed, hence the donation today. I have prayed for these items, therefore I believe that the inmate will repent. I hope that the items will be enough for every inmate.
The representative of the Commissioner, Luke Malinzisa, says he is proud to say that the correctional has rehabilitated many inmates that are now important members of society.
I
must say we have transformed many inmates who are now law-abiding citizens. Others have been ordained as pastors, and others are executives of their companies with skills obtained at the correctional services. As an organization, we are proud of the work we do.
Malinzisa says they will ensure that the items are distributed fairly to the inmates. Reporting, I'm Lungelele Makakula with Patizo MCB in Mbabane.
1,300 children are once again going to benefit a meal per day after the reopening of most care centers in Manzini. One of the caretakers at the Ngwane Park Center Care Point in Mbaliende says the reopening will help the children to refrain from roaming around the streets and play games at the centers.
In total, there are 8 care centers in Manzini. However, only 6 have been reopened. Public Relations Officer Mataoza Twala says necessary measures have been followed to ensure the safety of the children prior to the reopening.
We have said the children will have to come in groups so that we can be able to observe proper social distancing. Running water and soap is available for the children to use as they come in.
One of the caretakers at the Ngwane Park Care Point in Mbaliende says the children were struggling during the 5-month closure because they were seen roaming around the streets. She says she is pleased now that they have been given the green light to operate again because it will help keep the children off the streets and also safe.
Leli dladla liyabacoca kakhulu nyalo nje sekungcono lokusekuvuliwe sebatawulonzeka sebayathi kusibasuka ekhaya bayaphi batofike badle nabaqeda kudla bayahamba.
Organizations that assisted in the reopening of the care centers include Business Eswatini and the AIDS Healthcare Foundation and other organizations. Reporting, I'm Lungulele Makakula with Patizwe Msibi in Manzini.
Well, from the sports desk, Eswatini National Sports Recreational Council will launch the Eswatini Women's Sports Commission that will advocate for gender equality in sports. The council's communications officer, Dumsani Ndiwane, says this is part of their strategy to grow women's sports in the country.
The Eswatini Recreational Sports Council, part of their objective is to see women participation in sports increase by having all sporting associations under them include women competitions in all their games, which also includes disabled women. The council is in a process to establish a Women in Sports Commission that will look after the interest of women in sport. The council's communication officer, Dumsani Ndiwane, elaborates on the objectives of the commission.
Sports and Recreation Council is actually on a drive to establish Women's Sports Commission. This commission will be tasked, amongst other things, to make sure that our women are fairly represented in whatever sporting discipline we have in the country. Women include girls, it includes married women, young women, and of course those women that are living with disability. They'll also make sure that the gender representation in each of the sporting codes is fairly represented.
Ndiwane concluded by announcing that applications is open for all those who would like to form part of the commission, and they will be required to take the relevant course. Application can be done through the council's communication platforms. Reporting for Eswatini TV Sports News, I am Patizwe Msibi. Mbabane.
Local athletes who are preparing for the national championships that will be played in October says they have little left to work on as the dates get closer. The athletes were speaking during their training at the Mavuso Training Center in Manzini.
In October, elite athletes in the country will come together to compete in the national championship that will be hosted in Manzini. Even though athletes have not been able to compete since March when all sporting activities were suspended after the coronavirus outbreak, many athletes believe they are ready for the national championships that they will have to concentrate on, otherwise they are ready.
Most of my areas training so far that's a little bit of my stats, then we are ready.
Go acceleration. Let's build the acceleration, then we're ready for competition. Bananya is ready later on. So discuss this. Even if we competition weekend, that's good.
Then sasingastala nake kwasengaselungisa lapha nalapha speed ikakhulu speed. Ngoba benze ngijibela khona le ground belingaselo likahle leliqonzile, so befuna avoid ama injuries. So nyalo ngenda speed ngama stats.
Lengamani ngilungiselele ngilokubhida so. Acceleration.
Concentrate like finish like now about 200 meters. Concentrate like finish because
Athletics coach Ms. Mabuza in a telephonic interview encouraged athletes to take part in the competition as it will give them an opportunity to gauge their level as they prepare for a busy year in 2021. Reporting for Eswatini TV Sports News, I am Patizwe Msibi in Manzini.
Well, let's take a quick recap of our top stories making headlines this evening. The Prime Minister has pledged government support to business Eswatini's Vukani Bomage project. The Minister for Foreign Affairs says more Emaswati to be repatriated home before the end of the month. The Minister of Agriculture calls for farmers to prepare for the ploughing season. Well, that's it from the 8 o'clock news bulletin. Thank you so much for choosing to stay with us. Good night.